Hi, everybody, and welcome to another comic episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who are the mass vigilantes with me today? That's all I can think.
Stefan JD.
Jesse Chavez.
I think I used the same opening when we did Kill or Be Killed months ago at this point.
I think you did.
Oh,
Sorry, we'll consider Dylan generic Batman.
Batman's all right, and I think I'm going to introduce what lovely book we're reading today, because it was my pick, because I really wanted to read this on the show. We are reading Batman Death of the Family, which is a trade from the New 52 Batman run, Volume 3. Stefan, if you want to give a quick background for all the people that are going, what the hell?
Yeah. So New 52 is, I think it was Jim Lee's idea. But basically what they wanted to do is they wanted to revamp and kind of fix all the things in the storylines of the superheroes and basically redo everything and rewrite everything. And a lot of people were pissed off. I was one of those people. And a lot of people were open to the idea. What's kind of interesting about Batman specifically is that he, like, his backstory, things that happened in it, because he, like, in the timeline of this, where we're at right now in this story, it's only been, Batman's been operating for 5 years or something.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, but in that 5 years, like, everything is still has happened, like the big beats. So, like, Nightfall has happened and Killing Joke has happened. So all those stories happened in 5 years, which seems pretty condensed.
He's had a lot of bad days. That's all. The easiest way to put it.
Yeah. So then we jump into where we're at right now, which is Volume 3, Death of the Family, and the Joker, it now doesn't have a face. He's been faceless for a year, and the doll maker is the one who took it off. Doll maker's just another villain in Batman's Rogues Gallery that came along.
That is one fucked up issue, by the way, too, which is, it's not even in this little thing. It happens in Detective Comics #1 in the reboot, but it is just messed up where he cuts off his face.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's implied later. I think it's implied later that the Joker lets him. Like, it's just,
yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
It was all the Joker's idea. It wasn't. I mean, I was introduced to I didn't know who Dollmaker was until he's in an episode of Arrow in the first season.
Really?
Yeah, and he's trying to put Laura Lance. He's trying to put, like, I think he's trying to fill her with wax or something.
Yeah.
He's not cutting people up. He fills them with wax. If I'm remembering correctly. I mean, this has been. I mean, I watched season 1 when season 1 came out, so it's been a little while.
Oh, that's definitely a hot date.
I want to see what he's doing. Someone out there knows what I'm talking about.
It's like a terrible Paris Hilton movie.
Well, yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe just not what. Okay, Dollhouse season 1 did not get what I wanted. I was like, wait, I meant doll maker, not. But doll. Oh, keep going. I'm googling.
One night in Laura Lanning. So anyway, what's going on here is that the Joker's coming back, and he's been on hiatus for a year, or so they think. And they're kind of freaked out because they're thinking the same thing that they always think, which is that the Joker is pretty much unpredictable. You have absolutely no idea what he's going to do next. And what Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo were doing, which is the two people who were taking care of the book at the time, is they wanted to bring a Joker back who's, like, getting his hands dirty, because for the longest time in comic books, Joker was just basically sending henchmen. He was using the Rogues Gallery. He was kind of second fiddle to whatever was going on, like something in Hush. You know, he wasn't like the main baddie. So now they're trying to bring back a fucking, like, brutal ass Joker, which, like, as soon as you get into issue 1, it shows that off.
It is. It's a fucked up story. Oh, but to answer the earlier thing, before I forget, he was drowning his female victim with pouring a polymer down on their throats before dressing them up like dolls for the police to find. At least that's what it did in Arrow.
Oh.
To finish what I was saying before.
Okay.
David Cage ripped that off.
Yeah.
It's an early episode of Arrow. I always remember that. That was my first experience with who the doll maker was. I didn't have any idea who he was. I'm pretty sure he's in Gotham too, in season 2, but we're not talking about Gotham. No, I mean, this book was something that I read it years ago after seeing people talk about it, or hearing people talk about it, seeing the comics at comic book stores. And at the time, I remember every issue, this is 5 years ago at the time, every issue was like $30 or so, I want to say, just for issues in this run. Like, they were pricey books. not that pricey, but enough for a new book.
Yeah, I think Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder, when they got together, nobody was like, oh, they're gonna like kill Batman, like it's gonna be an amazing run. But then it ended up being an amazing run.
It mostly is.
Hey.
There's a couple. I mean, we're not in a different episode. We are going to talk about volume 1 and 2, not this episode. But the thing about the Joker is that, like, for me, I mean, I know some of the history of Joker. I know the Killing Joke. I know some of these, main stories. And I like how they take that history, but also at the same time, they push it to the side where it's there, but you don't need to really know what happened. Like, it doesn't matter. You just know Joker and Batman have had some times together and they hate each other. Well, hate each other, love each other, close enough.
Yeah. The yin to the yang.
Yeah. This whole line kind of feels pretty much like it's just Joker's greatest hits album. He's like, but wait, I'm gonna remix it. So many more people are gonna die.
Exactly.
I mean, even just the first scene when they introduce Joker back into the comics after he's been gone for so long and hadn't had a story in years. I mean, at least a year in the New 52. And he had only one issue at that. It has Gordon standing in the police station, and he's sitting there talking. The lights go out. Okay, no big deal. He's like, okay, the backup generator kick in. It's probably nothing. And then in the hallway or the doorway, he sees the Joker just standing there. He's like, oh shit, not the words, but close enough. that is such. I mean, I would love to see this in a movie. We got just that scene, and then he brutalizes all these people in the dark, all the officers, and you just hear people say, no, he just murders them, and Gordon just freaking out, shooting randomly, hitting nothing, and it is just such a, like, it really sets the tone for what you're getting yourself into in this book.
Right, and he even goes as far to say that, like, he knows things about Jim Gordon that Jim Gordon didn't think he knew about him. He says, yes. Like, oh, I know where you hide your cigarettes from Barbara in this little blah, 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 like space. He's like, I know because sometimes at night I'll be sleeping under your bed listening to you talk to yourself.
I mean, that is just...
He just goes straight up Pennywise.
Yeah.
Kill you all.
Pennywise is a supernatural being. He's still a clown, but this is... I mean, they kind of give Joker that supernatural type being in this. Which is, it does work, though.
It's just, am I not real enough for you, Gordon?
It's so creepy. It's really good, though. Like, I've just been rereading Death of the Family today, and it is just so good.
Yeah, Greg Capullo definitely knows how to draw those scenes to, like, look immediately cinematic. Like, you do want to see it as a movie. You can see it as a movie.
With a hard R. But
oh yeah.
Well, that's coming again after how Joker did in theaters, so there'll be more. There shouldn't be.
There will be. I was joking with Stefan though. I was like, I have a feeling I know what comic Jared Leto was trying to base his Joker off. Joker off of. It was this one, and just like in his head, he's just doing Death of the Family, but everyone else is just like, stop, you fucking juggalo, just stop.
I mean, you might be right. Like, he could have been trying to take inspiration from this, but his Joker is just garbage in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Leto, he's a good actor, but he's weird as hell.
Pretentious too.
Yeah.
But the Joker is a difficult character, I feel, to really nail. It's one of those characters that can very easily be misread, and depending on your mindset, if you look at him the wrong way, you're just like, oh yeah, that's kind of a sympathetic hero. That's a man I can stand behind, or that's he's just misunderstood, and he's not. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go into controversial Joker opinions if I keep going, but it's
not controversial. In my experience, people who idolize Harley Quinn and Joker as the relationship, who compare it to themselves, usually are in a bad relationship. So
yeah, and they usually smoke crack. So
according to Kevin Smith, Paul Dini thought that was fucking genius in Suicide Squad. Like, he was crying tears of joy, and I'm like, are you sure, Kevin?
I mean, think about it. He saw his creation in the big screen. That could have been a big part of it too. I mean, you got to think about that.
Yeah, no, that's true. I definitely feel different about movies when I see them in theaters versus when I watch them at home. There's like a certain magic to the theater experience. And I'm hoping that was what the case was, because they completely inverted who she was in the final cut.
Yeah.
Speaking of Harley Quinn, though, I did like that in the, there's a scene coming up shortly after all this where Batman ends up going to where they first met, which is also another reference to the Killing Joke. And I like how he's wearing the character is wearing the stupid red hood or the red helmet, which I really, really hate. I just hate that design so fucking much.
Why? Because it just looks like a giant capsule, or
it's a guy wearing a suit with a red cape and a big like red capsule on top of his head. Nothing screams "shoot me, I'm over here" than wearing a big red capsule on your head.
You're not familiar with Tylenol, man?
Just like example, I have the first appearance of Red Hood, when it's Jason Todd as Red Hood. Spoiler alert. And I've almost bought that book many times because I met the artist multiple times, and he lives around. Yeah, he lives in Minnesota. So, and I always want to get that book to have him sign it, but I'm just like, that cover is so stupid, and I just can't get myself to do it. And it usually costs $60, $80, so that doesn't help. But I really hate that design. I don't know if I got that across good enough yet.
I still own it. Speaking of which, that actually isn't. There's been 3 Red Hoods, and now I guess an impersonation because Harley imitates a Red Hood in this comic.
Yeah, for like one issue, a few panels. It's not. I wouldn't count that.
Joker dresses her up as the Red Hood.
Oh, that scene when they describe and he threatens her with a knife. He's like, "Let's cut off your face," and she's like, "What are you doing, Mr. J?"
Is it gonna hurt?
It's like he's not my Mr. J anymore. I don't know what he is.
I mean that feels like so much of an insult to all the people that are like, "We're Joker and Harley Quinn," and they were just like, "We're gonna make Joker super psycho. You guys all can't compare yourself anymore." That's what it felt like to me. I mean, because he's threatening to cut off her face. I mean, you can't get worse than that. Well, you can, but it's pretty bad.
Oh, yeah. Knowing the true nature of their relationship, though, still makes perfect sense. She's not a person to him. She's just property.
Yeah, which is what a toxic, abusive relationship is.
If I want to carve you up like a library table, then God damn it, Harley, I'm gonna do it.
And she was gonna let him too. I mean, that's another key issue of that. Key part of that. She was almost gonna let him. Like, okay, whatever you say, Mr. J. Mr. J.
Yeah,
I need my own spin off. Fuck this.
She's completely crazy.
You're echoing.
So I don't know about you guys, but one of the highlights for me when Scott Snyder writes is he pulls in old history.
Yes.
Previous comic books. And one of the things he did in this comic book that I really appreciate is he pulled in an old Joker and Batman fight where they're on a giant blimp, and it's, one of those old gags in the old comics where it's just this huge thing, explosions going off everywhere and everything. And, the Joker looks like he dies and everything. And
is that scene actually from the old issues?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought, when I saw that panel and he's reminiscing, I thought they just made up stuff and threw it in there. I didn't realize that's an actual from an old issue.
No, he drew it all in from all the old stuff. There's stuff even later in the comic that he does, but specifically with this one pertaining to the fact that later on Batman drives the Bat boat to the Batcave and there's a Joker card on it. And he doesn't know if the Joker left it on there. Well, he finds it later. He doesn't know if the Joker was in the cave or if he attached it to the Bat boat or how it got there. It's just sitting in the back.
He's in huge denial that he was in the cave. Also,
yeah.
But it's that whole mental, fucking with you where it's like, was he not?
And then he hides it from the Bat family, which of course makes a giant list in all of them, which I'm sure if the Joker, if he wasn't paying attention or if he was, I'm sure he'd just be eating popcorn like, this is amazing. I love it. Keep doing this.
Yeah, because Batman's hubris is not going to let him be like, oh no, the Joker got the better of me. He totally beat us.
Rated by the Joker. You hear me?
Yeah.
Never.
I do like it when they're all arguing shortly after where they're. I forget. Is this after he's already told them that he's coming after them? I just read all this, but okay.
No, because what happens is he thinks he calls them in and he warns them. He says like, "Hey, I think the Joker might know who your real identities are, so I'm just letting you know." And they're like, "Well, how would that happen?" And for me, this is where the death of the family part of the comic book comes in, is because he kept it a secret that he didn't know that the Joker possibly could have been in the Batcave and found all the information out.
You also have, I want to say Alfred was kidnapped too around this point. That helped spark that whole, like, where they're like, okay, he took Alfred, and Batman just keeps saying, well, it's just because he's a friend of Bruce Wayne and he knows Bruce Wayne's a friend. I mean, just trying to, make reasons that have nothing that don't involve him knowing who Batman is. And I do like that, because that you can see, I mean, Batman's a very intelligent character, and here he is trying to justify something that doesn't really make sense.
Right.
There's a really great scene. I can't remember if he's talking to a Robin or Nightwing or something. He's basically he's talking to Robin essentially, and he keeps mentioning he's trying to like do a personal dissociation, like Bruce Wayne's butler, and finally he just calls him on his shit. And he's like, "Yeah, you mean Alfred? The guy who helped raise you, who helped raise all of us, who's been by us. Like, can you fucking just admit who it is?" And he's just like, "No, we can't. Like, we are not exposing ourselves like this," because he's already paranoid from everything else that's happened up to this point.
I did like that. I liked how they made him weak in a sense, where Batman isn't in charge. He isn't on top. He's confused. He's getting kind of neurotic. I really like that, because I feel like you don't see that a lot with Batman.
No. Mm-mm.
At least in the movies you do sometimes, but that's different, Batman.
That was a brilliant observation, Stefan. I never thought about it. The real murder all along was of the familial relationships.
Yeah. But I mean, it kind of shows it too later in the comic when he's trying to contact them back to the cave, and they're all making up excuses saying, I'm doing something else, or don't wait up for me. Even Damian's like, I'm going to go train somewhere else, not around you.
That's in the end though, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, it's kind of like the death of the family. Like, they don't want to be around him,
Yeah. It also is a reference to what the hell is the other one called? The original death.
A Death in the Family.
Ah, yeah. All of a sudden, my brain's like click off, which is a 1980s book, right, or 1970s?
1980s. It's when Jason Todd dies. Yeah.
It's okay.
Second wrong.
But they do reference that in here too. Because one of the Robins that's with him, spoiler alert, is Jason Todd, the one that died in the 80s and comes back because comics. Except none of this matters because none of this is canon anymore. So,
all right.
So it doesn't matter.
It's its own separate Earth now.
Yeah. It is. But there's some good stories in New 52. I haven't experienced too much, but I'm trying to.
I think the Harley Quinn comics I was reading was from the New 52 era, her own spinoff, where she's like running her own halfway house to keep people from falling down into a bad crowd.
Yeah, she's got some really weird arcs like that came out of this, and in Rebirth, everything that happened afterwards. Like at one point, I think she even sleeps with Nightwing. I don't know why.
I don't know. Well, for the animated movies, good enough for the comic, right?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Batman history, there's an early scene where Joker ends up setting up his chemical attack with the mayor and all the police. Was that from an earlier comics where he had used that chemical a lot, I want to say?
Correct. So
okay.
So one of the things from the past is also poisoning the Gotham River. And I think it might have to do with the smiling fish or whatever.
Okay.
Laughing fish.
I love that scene where he's on the bridge and he's reenacting one of his old crimes, and Batman gets up there and he's like, "I'm here to stop you, Joker." And he's like, if when I poisoned this last time, it was the guys that went and get their water first before it hits the rest of the river. So you know what I did, Bats? I just already killed them. He looks in the water and they're all sitting there in the water already dead. He's like, I didn't want to wait. I mean, that to me was just like, oh man, what a smack in the face for Batman. And also, like, I mean, you set up this trap. You're just like, fuck it. I don't want to wait. I'll just kill them all and throw them, and you can find them, and you'll be even madder at me.
Yeah, it's like not
too late.
we got out of the way. Now it's just me and you. Let's talk about our relationship.
Man, it's so fucked up. I'm gonna say it a lot in this episode. But it grabs me. Like it I mean, much as the story screwed up, I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I am unfamiliar. I mean, Joker normally has goons, right? Like that's not you said that's a normal thing for him?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
I wasn't familiar with the whole. Well, I'm not super familiar with Joker in comics at all. I read one before this with called Hush. So that Joker, I haven't read much.
Well, and you read Killing Joke too, right?
Oh yeah, okay. I read Killing Joke. I read A Death in the Family. I read a couple, but not a lot.
All right.
In my
Speaking of
Oh,
the Killing, I caught one reference to it in this line. There might be more. I don't know. When it comes to Batman history, I'm really spotty. But in the Batgirl stuff, when some people are said to attack Barbara Gordon's mom, like they're all wearing Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah, that's that's a straight up Killing Joke. Because in Killing Joke, she gets shot and she's paralyzed, which does not happen because Batgirl's in this running around just normal.
Yeah,
which is good.
I was definitely confused at first. I'm like, wait, so were you Oracle at one point, or is that not a thing now, or is it gonna happen?
It happens in Arkham Knight. Does that count? Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, we'll count that.
That is my main. That's what got me into Batman was the Arkham Asylum, big time.
I'm surprised.
I mean, I like Batman, but that's the one that grabbed me. I mean, just in everything with this, like when he's on top of that bridge and they shoot him with the teeth that come out. I mean, all I can think of is Arkham Asylum, and the teeth like wrap a rope around him. I mean, that was also pretty damn cool. I thought.
Yeah.
And then the cops show up and get blasted to hell.
As usual.
I didn't notice this my first reading, but there's a guy, one of the guys in the woods with a bazooka, had the GIMP mask on with like zippers for the eyes and the mouth. I guess that's before I'm like, oh, that's funny. It fits Joker.
Everything.
Can you imagine applying for like Gotham PD and just being like, so why are you guys looking for people? Oh, Joker took out like 30 of us last night. Riddler took out 10 of us last week. We just need people.
That's too honest. They're just going to be like, we just have a high turnout rate. Just they usually kick in about 30 days in. Oh, great. And they're like, oh no, an officer passed. How long? It's like, oh, it's the usual 15 days. Oh fuck. No, wait. I mean,
the application is just, do you breathe? Yes. Can you shoot? Yes. You're hired.
Are you affiliated with any of these villains? Mile long list. The calculator, is that a thing? Yes, it is a thing.
That is a thing. So is Calendar Man.
You always bring up Calendar Man, Mike. We're gonna read a comic with Calendar Man very soon because
what about Polka Dot Man?
Polka Dot Man is it? I want to say he's in that Lego Batman movie.
I have the minifigure for him.
Nice.
Oh god! But Polka Dot Man did not show up in the next part of the story when they go to Arkham Asylum, which, okay, that grabbed me. That I love Arkham Asylum in general, mainly because of the game, but just this place full of crazies, and then you kind of have the same story in a way where Joker has taken over Arkham Asylum, and the inmates are running the show. So
right.
Joker's psycho. And it's just get Arkham Asylum vibes him building his, like, you have an Arkham Asylum where he's building the whole thing that doesn't really pay off. But spoiler.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. So in the comic here, he subdues some guards or something, some people that nobody will miss from Arkham Asylum, or maybe it's not guards, but it's inmates, and then he like dresses them up as the Justice League so that he can make them kill themselves.
He dresses up some as the Justice League. He dresses others up as Batman and Joker and has them dancing in water with a current running to it in case he decides that he wants to kill him. Okay. It's all guards that were single that nobody would miss and nobody would notice or like, why aren't they coming home? And the people that have families, he tells them, if you tell anybody, I murder your family, and you just need to keep coming back to work every day like it's normal.
Correct. And for anyone who doesn't know, this is going to be a little bit of a spoiler for Endgame. So
Avengers Endgame, by the way.
No, Batman Endgame, New 52. So in the idea that Joker's been missing for a year and he's been gone, that actually wasn't true at all. Apparently, he's just been dressing up as other people and walking around pretending to be them. So at one point, Batman comes to Arkham and he's talking to a dude who he always sees there, just like an orderly. He's like, "Oh, hey, John," or whatever his name is. Apparently, that whole time, that's been Joker just talking to Batman, and he took like pain pills or something to like keep his grin down so he wouldn't let him on that it was the Joker the whole time.
He didn't actually have his face cut off, right? Or did he?
I don't remember.
Okay, because I know in this he doesn't have a face, but I also know in Endgame he has a face.
Yeah, he actually has his face back on.
Yeah. I mean, also, which we can't really you should look it up, but like you can see his face is stapled onto his head in these issues.
Yeah, he uses a belt to fasten it.
It's terrible. It's so fucked up. Oh man, this is one messed up comic. But hey, it's also I feel like it's a famous Joker story that people who aren't into comics but never have heard of.
Right.
I know I wasn't as familiar with it. But also, like, with the thing...
the one that I usually hear the most about...
Yeah, keep going.
I was just going to say, the one I usually hear most about death of the family, the Killing Joke. Like, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the definitive Joker story.
I disagree.
Yeah. There's no real definitive Joker story. They're all just... Even he says it in Killing Joke. He's like, I remember it one way, this way, and then I remember it some days this way. So there's
also the Killing Joke wasn't even like it was in a different universe at the time. Right?
I don't know about that.
Maybe.
I think maybe now it is, but back then it wasn't.
Okay. Oh, but as you were mentioning earlier with the guards, like you have all these different guards that are all, being used, and I did like that when he had them dancing, and he's like, "We've been dancing for days," and as soon as he grabs the batarang, Joker's like, I'm gonna electrocute him if you do. And all their feet are all bloody in the water, and it's just, it's a gory looking thing. And also, isn't there
for days?
there's a famous cover? I don't remember what year it is, where it's Joker and Harley Quinn dancing with a black background on the cover.
Oh, yeah, that's an Alex Ross cover, right?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I just know it's a famous picture.
From what I remember, because his always has like the dramatic shadowing, right? And the kind of hyper realistic.
He's a really good artist.
It's bad that I don't
recreated that pose for the Suicide Squad.
Okay, that's Batman Harley Quinn 1999 is what that's from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but that's what it reminded me of. I felt like they were kind of going for a reference to that famous cover, except it's Joker and Batman dancing, and they're not. So that's what it felt like to me.
Right. It's definitely one of the higher moments of this run. And this story is when you get to see that Batman's again sacrificing himself for these people he doesn't even know, because right afterwards he has to grab, I think it's like a sword in the stone or something that they're trying to pull. And he's sacrificing himself and getting himself electrocuted is what it is. He sits in a chair. That's what it is.
Yeah, because he has three of the guards he's having them. He tells them if you pull this chainsaw with a live electricity running to it, and you can pull it out of the cement, you can go free. He's like, well, it's random, so you have a chance. I don't think they had a chance at all. And it's after he disconnects, he shoots a batarang, finally disconnects it. He sees on screens all the Bat family getting beat up and captured by the Joker, and then he gives in and lets the Joker sit down in an electric chair and shocks the hell out of him because his weakness is his family. There are a couple more things I do want to mention about that part before we move on. Like one, when he's going as he's going through Arkham Asylum, you do run into he has all the inmates dressed up as knights with flaming swords or flaming something. That part is so cool. I mean, it's just a page, 2 pages worth of just kicking ass. And I'm just like, just smiling as I turn the page. It made me laugh.
Yeah, I always like when Joker goes all out for Batman. He's just like, welcome to the party. And he sets it all up for him.
Like the part where he makes a tapestry out of bodies hanging from the wall. And I think they even talk at one point, or it's just him going crazy. I'm not sure which one, but with that is just, he just looks up and it's just bodies. And he's like, hey, I used that. The doll maker helped me. And look at the cool colors. I'm just like, And it's so messed up. Like this book hits. It really hits.
Yeah, it's definitely not for kids.
Well, comics are not really anymore. Like not the.
Yeah.
There are comics for kids. I wouldn't call this comics for kids. No, this story would not be good for a kid to read.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
like we were talking about Joker having his face cut off, but it's still strapped around where his face should be. There's like flies buzzing around it. That's something a kid really should.
All the time throughout the entire this arc. You have flies all just here and there and around his face.
Correct.
I did like how they brought Mr. Freeze, Scarecrow, and Clayface in for a very small part as he's climbing up the stairs. I really like Mr. Freeze. Scarecrow, the Scarecrow like that they have in the New 52 in this arc looks a lot like Scarecrow does in Batman Begins, which I don't care for. I like that movie a lot, don't get me wrong, but I just don't. I don't know. Maybe I like my Scarecrow from the Batman animated series where he looks like a fucking scarecrow, which makes no sense. But I just love that look.
Yeah, I feel like he was underutilized anyway. But I mean, Batman's Rogues Gallery in general, I like them all for different reasons. Sometimes they have good stories, sometimes they don't.
I'm a big fan of Clayface.
Oh yeah,
Animated
series Clayface is awesome.
Yeah, that's part of it, and yeah, that's a big part of it. And I just like how Clayface is Gordon, and he's like, "Stop, Batman!" He just grabs him and like he knows it's not him, and breaks his arm or something. Like, oh, I'm like, because he can tell, he can see through.
Yeah.
Gordon, where's your skeleton?
You don't have one. I did like it as he's coming up in the throne room we were mentioning, and you have Two-Face, Riddler, and Penguin all dressed up in different, because his whole idea is that Batman is the king and he's coming to his throne, which is a shock you to death chair, electric chair. And God, what Riddler's Riddler. He's the strategic or something. But you have Two-Face wearing a freaking like wig. It looks like from the 1700s, like he's like the British in the 1700s.
Yeah, the judge wig. You know what's funny is that there's a Batman the Animated Series episode where he develops a third personality called the Judge.
What?
And he actually does wear one of those.
Is this during the We Won't Speak of that last part when they changed the animation?
Yes.
Oh, that part never happened. Okay, that's why I don't remember. I hate when they change the animation. I'm done. I will not watch the rest of that show.
When the sky turns red.
I don't remember the sky turns red. I just know the animation changes and I'm done.
Yeah, the sky is completely red all the time, no matter what time of day it is.
It's hard for me. I when I was a kid, I thought it was a different show. Then I realized, no, it's the same show. I mean, they changed it a little bit, but it's the same show.
I don't know. What do you think, Jesse?
I'm not sure. Sorry, guys.
Don't worry. But as we were saying, I mean, just everything I thought was so cool. And then you also have Penguin dressed up as a bishop or something with a bishop hat, which I thought was stupid. But in normal Joker fashion, he turns on everybody because he's Joker.
Correct.
Which I thought, he's like, me and Bastard can have some alone time. They're like, what are you doing? And he's like, yeah, you're not coming. He locked him up.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't care. That's what I love about Joker in this.
Yeah, he's the clown prince of crime.
I mean, I know that phrase is, I mean, that's just what they call him, but this didn't even feel, this was more like, I like how this is such a personal story between the two of them, where it really shows this like love-hate relationship that they have for each other very well, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, this is all like a one big Valentine to Batman, it feels like, from his perspective.
Well, especially when you get to the next part. When he wakes up and he's sitting at a table and all the Bat family, which is, this is gonna be fun. Tim Drake, which is Red Robin. Right?
Okay, here we go.
I'm gonna try. Tim Drake, Red Robin, Nightwing, Dick Grayson, which is Nightwing, Damian Wayne, which is Robin now, Jason Todd, which is the Red Hood, and Barbara Gordon, which is Batgirl.
Right, and all those people have been Robin at one point.
All but Barbara Gordon.
All but well, yeah. Although there was a female Robin at one point. She's dead, though.
Yeah, Stephanie something or other.
Mm-hmm.
Way later?
No, that was earlier. That was like 2000 something. I don't know. That might have been the late 90s even. I don't know.
And you're not talking about Dark Knight, are you? Because there's one of Dark Knight too, but that's something different name.
No, she was a blonde. I forget her name. Stephanie something probably, yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It was a long time ago.
Losing their shit right now.
Stephanie Brown as Robin.
There you go.
What the? I have never heard of this character.
Yep. And then, of course, what Mike's referring to is the other Robin from Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, but that's a different universe in itself.
Don't get me started on that book. But yeah, I got opinions about that book, but we're not going there today. All right. And I just love that. And right away, he's already got everything planned so that way Batman can't escape. He's like, if you try to run, already doused it with gasoline. There's flint under your chair. Don't just think about it. They all burn.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was so cool. Like, it's just like, I already planned I know what you're going to do. I know you're going to break out of that chair, but they all burn. So do you.
I was saying, were you talking about the dinner where everyone's faces like, well, everyone's sitting of a bowl of ice with a certain surprise sitting on top of it.
Yeah, and they're all their faces are bandaged up except for Batman, and then just their eyes, and he brings out, what are those things called?
Dinner tray.
Oh wow,
there's a fancy word they use for them on Wikipedia, but I just call them bowls, just bowls of ice.
Well, like the cover, I feel like there's a special name for dinner trays like that with the silver cover.
Oh yeah, silver dinner trays.
Really, what it is?
It's CL.
I don't know.
Hey, I'm not
Again, there's gonna be an angry Batman fan. It's pronounced cloche, you fucking Philistine.
I guess dinner tray silver does pull up an image of it. So does that count?
Yeah. But did you find the actual name of it though, Jesse?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's spelled CLOCHE, cloche or something like that. Do you want me to pull up the Wikipedia page for it?
I thought you were just bullshitting us at first.
A cloche, from the French for bell, is a tableware cover, sometimes made out of silver, though commercially available as glass, stone, marble, or other materials. They often resemble a bell, hence the name.
See, you learned that here, guys. Now you know.
Dinner tray fact.
There's my contribution. I'm out.
It's important to the story.
It is important.
Not really, but I was very curious. And I was like, I know it's got to have a name.
It adds to the presentation. I like to think somewhere along all of this, Joker was just sitting at home watching Martha Stewart, taking notes like, yes, Bat's going to love this. Yes, it is a thing, Martha.
I mean, it's the best way to, fuck them up. Like, he opens this up and it's all their faces sitting on ice. And he's like, I cut off all your faces.
Yeah.
It's a really messed up scene.
See, we're all family.
Yeah, of course he's just gagging him though because he didn't really cut off their faces, but
no, you find out the next page.
Mm-hmm. And the reason also why when he sets the room on fire, why Batman was able to put it out with water is because he realized that Joker set this all up in like an eastern part of the Batcave, which leads more into speculation of like, does he know who Bruce Wayne is? Does he know who they are? Blah blah blah.
Does he care to know?
That's the big question.
I want to say no. The thing about Batman is that he's in love with the idea of Batman, not who the person is exactly.
Right. Well, we'll get into that next. I think we should just finish the dramatic climax here, but there is a reason why this all leads up to what Mike's talking about right now.
Oh, Mike's I have the book open as we speak right now. So
basically,
this is where I got to today. Then I had to stop reading because we were recording.
Yeah, basically Joker releases his Joker toxin and all of the Bat family start grinning very menacingly and they start trying to kill and attack each other.
Just the bomb is inside the two-headed lion cub that's born in the opening of this book.
And so Batman realizes that he's going to turn the tables on Joker because he's confessing all this love to him and blah, blah, blah. But he says, I know who you really are. And he's like, come here, I'll whisper who you really are into your ear. And the Joker can't stand it. And he flies off a cliff inside the cave and he's gone.
Okay. that's when they're fighting Joker as an act. It's pretty cool, by the way. I'm looking at it as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
But also, as they all get gassed, you also have Alfred who got kidnapped earlier. We mentioned briefly, but he's all gas too, and he's the one that brings all their fake faces on the trays.
Yeah, brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I do like it when you have him when they brings in and you first take when they first take off the bandage, like, oh god, how bad is it? How bad? And then you find out, nah, they're all fine. But I mean, that is kind of pretty messed up.
Yeah.
and I forgot the fact that he fell down the cave.
Yeah.
All about that. And he has this one key thing. He has a notebook that has he says has all the names of the Batman family, and just a blank little notebook with nothing in it.
Right.
But he never knew who they were.
Mm-hmm.
It was always the journey, not the destination for him. Like I said, I think for him, it was more of a case of just like, look at all the effort I'm putting in for you. Isn't this great? This is a spectacle. It's a celebration. I don't really give a shit who you are. I mean,
right. I think it's an inverse, because if you go to the last like couple pages where Batman's explaining to the Bat family like why Joker doesn't really care, is because he went to Arkham as Bruce Wayne, and he took that card that was on the Batmobile or Batboat, and he said, here, I think you dropped this. And Joker looks at it, and then he just turns away. Like, he can't see Bruce Wayne as Batman. So
that's such a stupid move.
I mean, if he already knows, maybe not.
Yeah, but why would Bruce Wayne have something if he didn't know?
I mean, it clearly shows that the Joker doesn't see Batman or Bruce Wayne as Batman. He sees Batman as Bruce Wayne.
I know. It's just one of those things where you look at it and I think of it from, here's a very educated character making a very uneducated decision.
Yeah.
I know I'm overthinking it.
I feel there's a sweet ambiguity to it, just because, I mean, I think it's one of the common held things where it's just, Bruce Wayne is the alter ego. Batman is truly who he is. And he doesn't really want to, again, maybe he just sees Bruce Wayne as, the false, like a mask. Like, oh, if you're not going to show your true self to me, then I don't want to talk to you.
That's how I feel. I mean, it's not, it means explored in other media, maybe in the comics. I just haven't read that. But I do agree that a lot of times with Batman, it becomes where the Batman is his real identity, not Bruce Wayne.
Correct.
He is, because he never recovered from the trauma he suffers as a child.
Yeah, he never will.
No, and that's the same. That's why Joker's always the other side of that coin. He's someone that doesn't have a past, doesn't think, but he's also just that he's willing to always take the next step. We'll kill everybody. I kind of lost where I was going with that. I realized. I was like,
he's the toxic boyfriend of the relationship. He's not just Harley's toxic boyfriend. He's Batman's toxic boyfriend.
Yeah, really good comparison.
I'm bad for you in the city, but if I'm gone, then you're gonna have to deal with your own problems, which you're never gonna actually do. So come on, let's fight. Fuck, whatever.
Thank you, Jesse. That was good.
Yeah, I mean, when I read this, like, I only got a chance to really go through it once, but when I read this, like I said, the entire time, it really felt like, again, this is just one long fucked up Valentine, and this is Joker's. Like, this is how I celebrate our relationship. Like, wasn't it? Haven't we had good times?
Pretty much, yeah. All the great Batman and Joker stories culminating into this one new story.
Exactly.
We also, because we kind of wrapped up the story, but also before we close it out, there is one little thing at the end where Batman is studying these chemical makeup of the gas Joker used on the Bat family.
Oh yeah.
And he finds a inert isotope, and the chemical compound in it is HA. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. I rolled my eyes so fucking hard they almost popped out of my head. Like, it was between that and then, like, isn't like one of the clues that leads into Ace is he's like dissecting like a gas or something.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And it's like ACE, and I'm just like, really? You're so fucking extra, Joker. Go for it.
Ace Chemicals.
Get it? You get it?
I think he was
all that, but I'm back now.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Mike.
I was like, I don't hear anything, and I looked down. Internet not connected. I'm like, what the hell?
I was looking down. It was like, Mike gone, Mike back. I'm like, okay, that was fast.
It's just like podcast over.
Not by. Welcome to the wonderful world of podcasting, guys.
Yeah.
And
Does that mean that whole gasp bit we just didn't make it?
I'm pretty sure it was still recording.
Mm-hmm. We're good.
I'm heard the end of it. Does that count?
Yeah.
Every time. At least it wasn't as bad as last time.
Mm-hmm. I think one other thing we should mention too is that we're not going to talk about all the supplemental comics that come with this. So there was like a lot of stories in Red Hood and the Outlaws, Batgirl, Nightwing, and whatever the hell else, and Teen Titans.
Suicide Squad. Just
Mm-hmm. And Jesse, you said you read the Batgirl one, but it was nothing critical.
I mean, I read a couple of them. The Batgirl one was probably the best of the few that I read, but I'm going to say a lot of these honestly could have been condensed into like a few scenes in the main comic. They really didn't need to be whole issues.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you know how comics are, where you have an event, so they wanted to bring all the Batman books into this event. But I felt like just these 6 issues, because originally I talked about doing this, I was like, okay, we're going to read all 23 issues, and I realized we just need to read the 6 in the volume, and we're good.
Yeah. And I think I remember too, one of the people talking who was working on Red Hood and the Outlaws, he was like, you know, I'm just doing this story. And then all of a sudden, you know, I'm mandated to include Death of the Family, like a crossover. And then I have to somehow weave back into the story I was trying to tell before all that shit happened. And it's like, yeah, that sucks. That would suck as a writer.
Yeah, I mean, they do it all the time.
Hey, Stefan, do you know what year this came out?
I think it was like 5 years ago.
2011. 2012. 2012.
I was going to say, you think maybe they were trying to cash in on that Marvel crossover, or hell, maybe the CW shows? Like, maybe, were they a thing back then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it seems like every day they're like, we're crossing over Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, fuck it, Harley Quinn. We're throwing everyone in the mix.
Arrow. Well, no, Arrow season 1 is 2012. So yeah, this came out around the same time.
Yeah.
Same year.
Mm-hmm. So it's possible. I don't know. I just know that if I was writing something and then I had to do a tie-in issue and then somehow weave back into the story I was telling, I would not like to do that. You know.
I say they probably did the best with what they had to work with, but to make something like that work, more planning and forethought has to be done, and it sounds like they didn't get that.
Yeah.
I understand when comics do it for like a big, you know, line-wide event and you have it affecting everything, but I don't like it when you take a certain, like you have a big Batman event, so all the Batman books have to have something to get more sales.
Right. It was kind of like when we covered Death of Superman. Every Superman book had to have a separate part of the story.
And we read too much Superman for that. Oh my God.
Yes, we did.
We were learning. That was like what? That was 5-6 months ago or more at this point. At the time you're hearing this, more.
Oh my God. Yeah. But yeah, that basically wraps up the story. They don't have a definitive conclusion because it continues on into Endgame, and Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo are going on. And as of this recording, they're doing something called, I think, Last Night on Earth in DC Black. So they're still together, still rocking.
And fun side story, I actually got to meet Greg Capullo. He came to a convention nearby. It was supposed to be Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, but unfortunately Scott Snyder wasn't there on Sunday, so I was only able. But I have my Killing Joke trade signed by Greg Capullo.
Right.
Which I'm jealous.
I did look for you when I was there. I was looking in some of the bins to try to find a cheap Batman book from that era, but I couldn't find. I didn't have anything, and I couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
But I should have. I mean, and then today I was at a Half Price Books and I ran into a bunch of this run for like $2. I'm like, God damn it! Why couldn't I have found this a month ago?
Right. Do you want to tell everyone what you got today?
Sure, why not? You might already know if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, but I picked up the first appearance of Claw. in Fantastic Four 56 or something for like $7. I'm pretty
That
happy.
memorable villain, Claw.
Hey, he's in Age of Ultron. But he doesn't have the
That's
claw
true.
in Age of Ultron. He's Ulysses Claw, and then he becomes Claw in Black Panther.
Yep,
Right?
that's true.
It's been a while.
I don't know. I blocked most of Age of Ultron.
That's not a bad thing. I rewatched that movie recently. That is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
All right, but one thing I do want to say is we mentioned this does tie into Endgame. We might do Endgame at some point, but also Endgame is like a couple of years after this. I want to say.
Yeah, they had a long run.
Okay, because I know it's like Volume 7 is Endgame because you go in a bunch of weird volumes that we will never talk about on the show.
So is Endgame the Bat family reunion where they all have to hug it out, and Batman's just like, "Look, guys, I'm sorry."
No.
Yeah.
Thankfully, no.
Audience applauds loudly.
I don't even remember Batman Endgame at all. So,
to be fair, I don't either, and I read it, I think, twice.
That's a red flag for me. All right.
Yeah. Skype. All right. I think we should go to Shelf or Box. How about you guys?
Yeah.
All right. Stefan, do you want to go first?
Sure. So when I first read this comic, I had originally bought it with the double pack where you would get the Joker mask along with it. And I enjoyed it for about a week before it was stolen from me. And yeah, and a lot of my comics were stolen and stuff like that. But overall, when I first read this story and even coming back to it, like, it's a good story, but for whatever reason, it's not the story for me. The one highlight I always say is that part where Bruce goes to show Joker the card and Joker doesn't react to it because he's not seeing Batman. He doesn't. If he saw Batman, then he would react, but otherwise he doesn't. And that's like the high moment of the whole book for me. The rest of it is just usual Joker crap. For me, I just didn't really care. It didn't draw me in, so I'm gonna put it in the box.
Okay. That's not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Considering this is the guy who buys Friday the 13th comics, this is not what I was expecting.
I love my trash, very trashy. I'm sorry.
I'm aware.
That's a different ball game right there.
How about you, Jesse?
This is going to be an oddly specific answer.
I'd
put it on my shelf, but it would be heavily neglected, and I'd only pull it out probably once a year.
All right.
Honestly, like, I can come back. It's one of those stories where I can enjoy it when I'm in the right mood. You really have to kind of get yourself in the mindset to enjoy something really fucked up. And God, I didn't really touch on it too much in this episode, but it's just my idea of Joker is kind of really complicated. Like, I have very mixed feelings regarding the character. When he's at his worst, he's really at his worst, and I can enjoy it.
You want your Joker covered in tattoos and working at a strip club? Is that what you want?
Oh God, no, don't, no, never again.
Don't worry. I'm sure he'll never be Joker again in a movie.
I will give this kudos for not romanticizing the character. Like, even if he is trying to give romantic overtones to Bats, he's
he is, but they also, like, they really show how, like, even like everything with Harley Quinn that we mentioned, they really show how messed up he is. They don't glamorize it like they kind of did in the Suicide Squad movie, I felt.
It's very much realistic, I feel, in how depraved and awful he's sunk to at this point. So I got to give it kudos for that. Like I said, if I had anything similar to compare it to, it's kind of how I feel about the original Pet Sematary movie. I think it's fantastically done, but I can't watch it more than like once a year. It's not one I can binge repeatedly, you know?
I mean, that's a good thing. If you could just like, I love this movie. I mean, I might be questioning other things then, but you know.
You guys remember that one time when Jared Leto sent a used condom to Will Smith?
I thought that was Viola Davis, no, it wasn't, because she's like, he thought about it, but I have a big footballer husband who can kick his ass, so that didn't happen.
He did it to multiple people. I don't
I
think it
think
was just.
he did. Yeah.
I wonder what he sent to Margot Robbie.
He-
Wonder what he sent to Margot Robbie.
Mm.
Probably a
Beheaded.
nice chocolate cake.
He really gets into his characters, though. Just not
Speaking as an actor, I'm just gonna say when an actor's like goes method, you really have to be careful because I've had bad experiences. Just they interpret method as like I'm going to use this as an excuse to be an asshole to everybody because it's my character. That makes me super artistic. I'm above everything, and I'm just like,
think-
let's go build a fucking house.
Like Jim Carrey's Man on the Moon.
Oh God, fuck Jim Carrey.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
He was in a movie called Man on the Moon, and it was
okay.
about Andy Kaufman, and essentially, he was channeling Andy, and by channeling Andy, that meant be a huge dick, which Andy Kaufman could be sometimes, but still.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I think I'll go next, and we'll talk about Batman. And I'm going to put this on the book on the shelf because I really like it, and I probably won't read it again. I've read it twice now in the last 2 months. I think it's taken us over a month to get this recording down. So I will not be reading it again anytime soon, but I really liked it. Like I even went out and bought the trade paperback just so I could get it signed, and just because I'm like, I enjoyed this book so much, I need to actually own a copy of it.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I also realized as I was reading the trade, I'm like, I like digital better. I like reading on my tablet much more than I like reading the actual book.
See, I'm the opposite from Mike. I like physical.
Well, I also I have a couple comics that are on my wall that I will never be taken out of the bag, but that's because they're from the 60s and they might fall apart if I open the bag. So.
Oh yeah, no concern.
I have.
Go for it.
Yeah. I just won't. I just will not open the bag. Like they are in such. Well, I mean, they look all right, but I know like they're missing staples and things. So I'm like, nope, I'm just gonna stay right in that bag. Never open it.
Mm-hmm.
No, fair. So wait, so when you say you'll put it on the shelf, you'll own it, but you won't really like read it again. Is that more just because the keeping the book in good condition, or just because you just can't do the story again for a while?
It's already in bad condition, unfortunately. But it's a trade. I was for some reason the plastic coming off on the front, but maybe that's for I don't know. But I also when I read, I twist them. That's why I don't like reading physical.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I accidentally did that with my Scott Pilgrim books.
Yeah, I need to read those someday. But also just that I have a hard time with things that are really dark like this. Like I'll enjoy it, but it's not something that I want to keep reliving and keep watching over and over again. Like to give an example, I rank, given a Star Wars joke here, I rank Phantom Menace above Revenge of the Sith because Phantom Menace is a more feel-good movie.
Mm. I get where you're coming from. It was essentially my stance for this book too. It's just again, it's like I'd be happy to have it, but I can't read it too much.
Yeah, it's just one of those. It's tough, but it's well worth it. Like if you're listening to this still, I highly recommend track it down and read it. It's on Amazon and buy the trade. And even if you don't know a lot about Batman, you can know enough. Hell, yes, we did break it down, but still, you can still definitely enjoy it.
I think there's plenty. I was just going to say, I think there's just enough in the story where if you're a well-read Batman historian, like you'll enjoy the little in references, but if you don't get the references, there's still, the story will keep you hooked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, and it's even just this whole New 52 run that they did with Batman. Most of it is really good. There's a couple of I never want to reread.
Correct. That's like the reason I put it in the box, for instance. It's just because I'm very picky with Scott Snyder's work. Like I like most of it, but this one, for instance, the death of the family. I mean, just when you say that, it sounds like they're all going to die or somebody's going to die. And that didn't even come close to happening. So
spoiler alert, nobody dies.
Yeah. So it's just,
they could have. It's comics. It's not like anyone stays dead.
Oh, I should also mention that this comic book was overshadowed by something that happened in Batman Incorporated, where Damian Wayne actually does die. So,
what is Batman Incorporated?
It's another Batman comic they came out with.
Is it the same universe or is it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, they killed Damian Wayne.
Mm-hmm. They killed him like a week later or something. I don't know. Like nobody gave a shit about this story because Grant Morrison killed Damian Wayne.
So essentially, he got pissed at his dad, didn't want to talk to him anymore, and then died the next week. That's dark.
And I don't even think they give Batman an issue where he gets to like grieve for him till like a little bit later, which is really fucking weird.
Robin, Bruce Wayne's son is dead. God damn it, Bruce. We just talked about this last week.
I never even heard of this little run.
Yeah, we'll talk about it sometime on the show.
Maybe. Okay, I think it's time to wrap this up. First, I want to thank Jesse for joining us tonight. We picked a fucked up story to bring him on, just like our last fucked up story he was on. So, hey, we'll find another fucked up story to bring you on. I'm sure Stefan can think of some really messed up comics.
Yeah, we'll pick something more suitable of Jesse's taste next time.
Jason X the comic. Let's do this.
You know what? Somebody in this podcast right now might own it. I would not be surprised one bit.
God damn it.
Yes, I do.
I made this joke earlier, and I'll make it again. Like again, when your roommate, you said she went to Goodwill and she bought. You're like, I see you bought some garbage. She looked over at your comics, saw you holding Friday the 13th, said, I see you bought garbage too. Never. I said it before. I'll say it again. Fucking hilarious. I give her kudos. Yeah,
I couldn't disagree with her.
But you bought it, and I'm like, it was $1, right? And you're like, no. I'm like, why?
What was it then? How much?
I think it was that one specifically was $10.
Okay, I could have bought 4 issues of Death of the Family for less than that today at Half Price Books and still had a couple dollars left over.
Well, here's the thing. With the kick I get out of those trashy horror comics is that as soon as I open the book, if there's already somebody getting topless, I know it's going to be trash. And 9 times out of 10, as soon as you open it, first or second page, some chick's already getting topless.
I think seeing Jason on the cover should be the giveaway that it's going to be trash.
Yeah, well, that too, yeah.
All right, I think it's time to wrap up this podcast. Oh, first, I also want to thank Bulby for letting us use his track, Cool Kid Squad from TP Bite the Bullet. I know, I just like. Oh, and I've said this so many times, I can't even remember it anymore. I'm tired. So there'll be a link in the show notes to his YouTube channel. Maybe one day maybe one day I'll get it right. No guarantees.
I'll do it next time, Mike, and we'll see if I get it right.
I try. I'm gonna have you, if I can remember. I'm gonna have you do it next week. Next week for all you guys happened like 2 months ago. Spoiler.
Yeah.
And also, please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We need more followers, and I'm always on Instagram, Facebook, posting up. I don't really spread like what we're doing about the comics too far ahead of time. I might eventually, but right now it's kind of like, hey, surprise! New special came out. Mm-hmm. So we shall see. All right, thank you everyone, and have a wonderful night. Bye, everybody.